Good early afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, April 4th. I'm your friendly local TikTok news anchor, JJ Hastings, and these are 5 stories you need to know to start your day. Let's go ahead and jump right. The Pentagon facing growing crisis in the Persian Gulf as a second U.S. military aircraft, reportedly an A-10 Thunderbolt II, was struck by Iranian air defenses on Friday. This follows the confirmed downing of an F-15E Strike Eagle overnight. While the pilot of the A-10 was reportedly able to maintain control and exit the immediate hot zone, the status of the second crew member from the initial F-15E crash remains the military's highest priority. Now, one F-15E crew member was successfully rescued by U.S. Special Operations Forces and is currently receiving medical treatment, as I reported yesterday. However, that second airman is still missing in southwestern Iran. And as reported yesterday here on the channel, Iranian state media has released images of the wreckage and the ejection seat, and the government is reportedly offering a bounty to any civilians who locate the quote-unquote enemy U.S. pilot. The loss of 2 aircraft in a 24-hour window represents the most significant blow to U.S. air operations since the conflict began 6 weeks ago. Now, this incident is forcing a tactical pause for some units as the Pentagon reassesses the density of Iranian anti-aircraft batteries, which have proven more lethal than the White House claims they were initially briefed on. Now, a reminder that reporting coming out of the White House over the past 7 to 10 days has been that the U.S. and Israel have full dominion and authority over Iranian airspace, so these continued attacks on U.S. jets showing clearly that is not the case. Now, in a follow-up story, in a move being described by legal experts as an unprecedented use of executive power, federal agents arresting the niece and grandniece of the late Iranian general Qasem Soleimani in the United States last night. Now, the arrests occurred immediately after the State Department rescinded their lawful permanent resident, or LPR, status, effectively turning the family members into undocumented individuals overnight. Now, the State Department justified the move as a matter of national security, citing the 2019 designation of the IRGC as a foreign terrorist organization. However, the timing of the arrests amidst the current Iran war suggests the administration is using this family as political leverage. Now, both women who were detained have been living legally in the United States for several years prior to this week's events. Civil rights groups have condemned the arrests as guilt by association as well as a violation of due process. The case is expected to trigger an immediate legal challenge regarding whether the executive branch can unilaterally revoke residency based on the actions of a deceased relative, setting a massive precedent for the rights of all green card holders with ties to adversarial nations. This matters because many people who are here on green card status or refugee status are here because they are attempting to escape political situations in these adversarial nations. So we'll keep our eye on this developing story. In our third segment, now, in a landmark decision for digital privacy, the Supreme Court has ruled in Cox Communications Inc. versus Sony Music Entertainment, a case that with everything going on, you likely had no idea was even happening. But they've ruled that internet service providers, or ISPs, cannot be held contributorily liable for the copyright infringements of their users. So the court determined that Cox did not induce its users to infringe, nor provide a service specifically tailored for illegal downloading. Now, this case centered on whether an ISP's failure to terminate the accounts of repeat copyright infringers made them legally responsible for that pirated content. The music industry has sought hundreds of millions of damages, arguing that ISPs have a duty to police their networks. The court rejected this, stating that the ISP is a neutral utility and not an enforcement arm for private corporations. This ruling is a major victory for net neutrality and consumer privacy. Now, if the court had ruled the other way, ISPs would have been incentivized to monitor all user traffic and preemptively disconnect users to avoid more massive lawsuits. So this decision ensures that the power to disconnect remains limited and that the burden of proof for copyright theft stays with the accuser. Now, in our fourth story, the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, the AEOI, has reported an airstrike near the Bushehr nuclear power plant on Saturday morning. According to official statements, the strike damaged a support building and killed a security guard on the perimeter. While the Israeli military has confirmed overnight strikes in Tehran targeting missile storage, they have not explicitly claimed the hit on Bushehr. Now, the AEOI maintains that the nuclear reactor itself was not hit and remains functionally secure, but the proximity of the strike marks a dangerous escalation in targeting. International monitors have long warned that strikes near nuclear facilities risk environmental catastrophe and represent a red line that could trigger a much broader regional response. Now, this strike follows a pattern of targeting Iranian industrial and energy hubs. Just hours earlier, U.S. and Israeli warplanes reportedly struck the Mashar Special Petrochemical Zone. The transition from tactical military targets to critical energy and nuclear adjacent infrastructure suggests a shift towards a maximum pressure campaign intended to collapse the Iranian economy. And in a global story, the government of Senegal announced strict new limits on foreign travel for their state officials this morning, a move directly linked to the economic fallout of the ongoing war in the Middle East. Now, with global oil prices surging and supply chains through the Strait of Hormuz effectively severed, the West African nation is moving to preserve dwindling foreign currency reserves and stabilize its domestic budget. Senegal is the latest non-combatant nation to take drastic measures as the conflict enters its sixth week. This disruption of global energy supplies has hit developing economies particularly hard, leading to fuel rationing and skyrocketing costs for imported goods. The decree from Dakar specifies that only essential diplomatic missions will be funded for the remainder of the fiscal year. Why should you care about what they're doing in Senegal? Well, the policy shift highlights the hidden global cost of this war conflict. While much of the news you're seeing is focusing on direct military engagement, the secondary economic effects are forcing multiple sovereign nations into austerity measures to avoid total financial collapse. What stories are on your radar this morning, and what questions do you have about the ones I just went over today? Go ahead and drop them below. And as always, please hit all of the buttons. It really helps with getting this kind of content back into the algorithm. As always, I'm JJ Hastings, and I'll see you in the next one.